Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining. So let's see. I'm gonna get started. I always feel like these cold opens are a little tough. We get to see a countdown, and then here we all are. But you're seeing some really exciting people with exciting things to say, and so I'm really pleased to be able to host this today. So my name is Wendy Zinger, Managing Director of Strategic Customer Programs here at TestMu AI, and I will be your host for this panel, which is called Always Open Engineering, Trust, and Quality in AI-Driven E-commerce. And I'm hearing a little interference. I think maybe your headphones, Sunita. If you can go on mute and see if you can sort that out. Thank you. All right, so a couple of housekeeping things. If you hear great takeaways, and we've been seeing lots of engagement on LinkedIn, on X, please tag us. Use the hashtag TestMuConference, TestMuConf, and the rest of the community can follow the conversation. Another thing to sort of open this up is we're here to talk about retail. Every channel is live all the time. And when something breaks, customers see it instantly and expensively. It affects trust, it affects revenue, and it really does matter when something goes wrong. So thinking about this, if a customer is browsing your storefront, those customers could easily now be an AI agent shopping on a human's behalf. And the engineers testing the storefront are using agents as well. So when we think about that, we're always open on both sides of the counter. There are 5 people here who represent some of my favorite things to do: shopping for fashion, shopping for pizza, and my husband's favorite thing to do, shopping for hardware and tractor supplies. So I will go through and introduce each of them. We have Sunita McCoy, who's Director of Quality Engineering at Pizza Hut, Rama Gunjapali, who leads Quality Engineering at Michael Kors, Krishna Gangu, who is Distinguished Architect at Catalyst Brands, Nipam Desai is Engineering Manager for Quality, Environment, and Release at New Look. And Jason Bryant is Director and Head of Software Quality Engineering and Assurance at Tractor Supply. So welcome to the panel. Thank you all so much for joining us. And let's get right into the discussion. So we're going to start with a terrific example of what can happen in sort of a big picture. Can each of you describe the one day or event in your calendar where a whole year of quality work gets examined at once, and what ready actually means for your team going into it? And I think I'd like to start with you, Sunita.
Hey, good morning, good evening. Thank you for joining. What a great panel and 3 days. We're on day 3. What did I hear? 75 plus attendees across a dozen or more countries. Thank you to the entire TestMu team for actually doing this year on year. You're on year 5. I'm coming back for the second time. Congratulations for the engagement. It's such a great way to give back into the community. Very stoked to be a part of it. So thank you, Wendy. Over to the question. So the most important day in terms of pizza in North America, I'll say Super Bowl Sunday. It is the one day that, all of our work kind of comes together and we're like, yes, game time, let's go. Why is it important? We actually sell over 1.5 million pizzas that evening. The peak time is about 6 p.m. At 6 p.m. Eastern, we're selling about 5,000 pizzas every minute, coast to coast. So more than half of that comes through our digital channel, whether that's web, mobile. And there's no, well, let's try again later if things don't work out. So the clock really starts when the orders land. So Ready for My team really doesn't just restrict us to green dashboards. We really need to make sure that our systems hold under heat. Nobody's white knuckling. I mean, just imagine, you and your husband are ordering pizza and it's game time and it doesn't arrive, right? And so that is our work coming together. So if we have a quiet, incident-free Sunday Super Bowl and it's really boring for us, that's not sheer luck. It's really our entire year of work coming together. So that's us, Wendy.
Amazing. I can't even picture the white knuckles. And I think there are white knuckles elsewhere in this room. And so Rama, maybe over to you.
Hi, thanks for having me. First of all, really excited to be part of this panel. Lovely to see you all. And I've seen like quite a few other panels, and last 3 days has been a really great engagement going on from the TestMu. In regards to the question of one day in particular, where it defines the my overall quality, or define how we are operating, is perhaps I would say Black Friday sale. For obvious reasons. So we are fashion retailers, and we do expect a majority of the sale happening during that period. And in terms of the readiness, the number of customers who come into our website, and the readiness that we have to go through, that we have no room for any errors there, because customers are usually impatient. They can't see any delays going on our website, so they just wanted great deals during that time for their loved ones. So that particular day really defines like how ready we are, and all the hard work that my team does will kind of be showcased on that day. So yeah, that's for myself. I think let's maybe we will just get some view from Nipam.
Yeah, certainly. So I think is a really great question, and thanks for giving an opportunity to come and talk to all of the community as well as panelists. So I think as Rama mentioned, the peak trading period is for the fashion retailer. New Look is pretty much is Black Friday, and of course it kind of start from there and go all the way up to the Christmas period. But what we call as a pre-peak trading is preparation started already to us to kind of get ready for our Black Friday sale. I think whole year of the quality work and release and whatever the features we developed, I think is get tested on that period, because I think the several reasons, volume of the customers and volume of the transaction happens during that time. The customer journey being tested, so all kind of customers will be there, and they kind of doing the all sort of transactions. Operational dependency in terms of like once the transaction happens on a digital or marketplace, that get transfer over to the operational systems and back office, and so that also get really kind of get validated, all of that, and it's all running onto at their highest. So this is one of the period kind of like really every retailer look forward to it. But at the same time, the digital engineering team always kind of like crossing their fingers, saying that we are ready, but let's hope for the best. And I think in a preparation, we always kind of making sure that we have a right level of automation, right level of regulation coverage. We have done all the critical customer journeys being covered, validated end to end. We do the kind of extensive level of performance testing during that time, just as a part of the peak training period. We also kind of do the extensive resilience testing as well. And even though as a whole package, all of these, I think our main idea is we have a clear visibility of what are the remaining risks, and also if anything get on the way, what is our mitigation plan? So starting from the smallest things as who are the key SME, key point of contact in each department, to each teams, to how third party, how we gonna able to reach out if anything goes wrong and if anything get failed. And also I think is getting well prepared into this as if something get failed, what are our actions against it, and plan and respond accordingly. So that's kind of how we prepare and kind of get ready for ourselves and for our customers. Over to you, Krishna.
Fantastic.
What do you think? Thank you, Wendy.
Right, is it Christian next or is it me?
I think we'll take Krishna and then you last. And by the way, there's a funny comment here in the chat. Somebody is asking for free pizza. So I'm going to second that and say I would also like some shoes and bags. So just write that down. All right, Krishna, back to you.
Yeah. First of all, thanks, Wendy and TestMu for having me here as one of the panelists, and appreciate that. I'd introduce myself with Catalyst Brands. For people who might not have heard about Catalyst Brands, it's a portfolio of brands with JCPenney, Brooks Brothers, Aeropostale, Nautica, and Lucky together. It's under one private equity. So Catalyst formed last year. So if you really look at it, it's a multi-brand consortium, right? And Peak for us, with variety of brands like iconic lifestyle and apparel stores like JCPenney. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that is huge for sure. But at the same time, there are mini peaks like Memorial Days, Labor Days, back to school. So there are multiple mini peaks that happen throughout the year. But Black Friday to Cyber Monday, Q4 is really, really critical for retailers. So traditionally, what used to happen in the retail world, and it still continues to happen to a little bit, is you do have a pre-preparedness starting sometime in August and then go all the way till October. You get into the code freezes and you really test your platforms under the real load during that holiday season, so that you're not really embarrassing your customers who are really wanting to come and shop and find great deals and plan for their Christmas holidays, etc. So you are actually testing your platform and your business capability to serve your customer and give the best experience to the customer during those days. And this period between August to September, October is where the platforms get hardened out and stabilized, and code freezes, everything happened during this period. But as you get into the cloud native platforms and more multi-tenancies and cross multi-region presence, the continuous failover testing is one of the aspects that a lot of companies are going to go towards. Like, it's not like a one-time event in a year to prepare yourself for the best days of the year for sales, but you are continuously supporting your customer throughout the year in the right way. So you're enabling the business by making sure you are resilient enough. So you have three-legged race there. One is platform readiness, one is operational readiness, and one is business readiness in terms of business operations. So am I having the right content? Am I having the right prices? Am I having the right inventory on time available for me to serve the customer? I'm able to sell the right goods and show the right products to the customer what they're searching for. And from an operational readiness, do I have the run books? Do I have the monitoring? Do I have proactive alerting and resilience? And from platform readiness, that is where we are going to have continuous evolving strategies going forward than traditionally looking into between August to October, harden the platform and keep it ready for the holidays alone. We are going to have a continuous failover testing and continuous performance testing, and making sure we can seamlessly failover without interrupting the customer experience overall. So the strategies are going to shift while automation and everything is coming into the picture. I'll give it to Jason.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Krishna. That was a great answer. So since we have like a multicultural, multi-country attendance here, I'm going to say a few things real quick that may level set. You know, 4 of the 5 panelists here are talking about, including me, are going to talk about Black Friday the day after Thanksgiving being our peak day, the day we make the most money, the day that we really count on. And the reason we call it Black Friday is because as a retailer, potentially we would have been in the red, meaning we were negative for the year. And then we get in the black, that's kind of the term we say, and then we start making positive money and positive momentum the day after Thanksgiving. So that's kind of where that phrase comes from. That's why we call it Black Friday. At Tractor Supply, we call it the day after Thanksgiving. So the day after Thanksgiving is obviously our biggest day. Cyber Monday is another one of our biggest days. But because we are a cyclical company, we are built on the weather being outside. We have a lifestyle, a culture of people that are farming, that are taking care of animals outside, that are raising horses, whatever the case may be. As soon as it starts getting warm and flowers start blooming, our business starts picking up. So we have to be ready as soon as springtime hits, and hopefully it hits very early, because that's very good for us, right? That helps make our first quarter's earnings, is that last month, that March month. And it kind of dictates, kind of how our year is going to go, as far as how quickly springtime is coming along. So we do have the traditional retailer peaks, but because we are based off of the weather outside, we hope it's nice and warm, and we want it to stay as warm as possible all year long.
I love that. And I really like the background, because I think, if you're not coming from this culture, the idea of Black Friday is a bit, those peak dates can be very different, including perhaps in the UK, Nipam. I'm not sure if Black Friday is as big a day or as big a peak.
I think it's becoming a big, and it's getting a lot more traction. Yes, I think we always ready to adopt the culture. Anything gets celebrated in the US, we kind of like eventually adopted, right? So
all right, well, I'm going to move to the next question. This was for fantastic answers, and this next question, we've got a bit of a different slant. So in this pre-agentic world, peak readiness was a known playbook. You're going to load test the funnel, freeze the code, staff the war room. To the points that I think you made, Krishna: platform readiness, operational, and business readiness. Here, let's shift a bit. What's the biggest assumption from that era that no longer holds? And how disruptive has it been for your team to let go of it? And I think perhaps we'll start with you, Jason, and then Rama, I think you had a few thoughts on this as well. So, Jason.
Yeah, so I would just say this isn't a one-time thing anymore, right? I talked about the different days of the year. It's not just one day. And readiness doesn't mean just getting ready one time and saying, okay, we're ready to go now. It means that we are consistently getting ready. So inside of our four walls at my company, we have what we call continuous readiness. So we start continuous readiness preparation in the summer months, right before the summer months, to get ready for that cyclical business that we're going to start getting in spring. So we start having our meetings with all cross-functional teams, making sure our monitoring is set up correctly, making sure the right vendor contacts are available, and making sure that all of our partners, both internally and externally, are ready to jump should anything go wrong. So I think, just quite honestly, it's not a one-time thing. This isn't a waterfall approach at getting ready. This is an agile approach. It can sit and continuously and iteratively making sure that we're ready to be ready for those things to happen. So the big focus for us is the operational stability and the performance testing to ensure that we're ready for those peak events to happen. I guess the disruptive part is that, it isn't just a pre-prod thing. Again, it isn't like a waterfall approach to things. We don't go through things and say, okay, we're ready. We are consistently and continuously ensuring that we're ready and ready to go at all times, because we can't predict, especially in the agentic world, what those bots are going to do, how they're going to fulfill their mission of purchasing something on our site, or whatever the case may be, because quite honestly, they're not predictable. They could run the same scenario one way this time, and the next time they could run it a different way. So we have to be able to ensure that we are prepared for that in a reasonable manner.
Have you seen that? Oh, I see a ball, Sunita. Is that because you want to say something? Oh no, it's a pen. Oh, cool pen. I was like, oh, maybe. Jason, quick question, just as a follow-up, and then we'll go to you, Rama. Have you already seen that sort of bot activity and learned from it?
I think we have. I know that we are constantly blocking new things that happen to interact with our site. And then we have to include that type of testing in our readiness testing going forward. I even had one of my agentic test platforms being blocked trying to run some post-production validation testing. So we're very, very, careful and cautious when it comes to that. But also at the same time, how do you balance that with also letting things like being able to go to Perplexity and type in, like they're integrated with Walmart, I want to buy, whatever from Walmart. How do you balance that security and the ability to not miss any sales at the same time? So I think our information security department is really having to juggle right now.
Yeah, Rama, can you please chime in here too? I think you had some thoughts.
Sure. I think I've been in the e-com industry for over 20 years, and I've gone through stages where during the peak readiness, we have a war room, all the vendors available. Should there be any issue that they have to be there in a war room kind of a situation and resolve the issue. It was quite intense, and the expectation was that there may be something where things might not work, and we need to have people around so that we can continue with the business that we would like to achieve during those peak sale periods. I think it's quite a stressful period, in my opinion, because there isn't anything like a schedule as such when the issue might or might not come, because the availability is throughout. We have team working in various shifts from like 24/7 throughout the holiday period, and it's not so great. Basically, I think it's really pressure to be there just so to, like, in case if you encounter any issue. I'm so glad that we have come out of that phase, purely because we are a lot more confident with our testing that we are currently doing. We tend to do most of the validations within the lower environment, so that as and these environments are as close as the production replica, so that any issues that we might come across during in production has already been taken care. I would see this as a positive outcome. I would never like to be in a war room kind of a situation. I think with the not necessarily excessive testing, doing the thorough due diligence across the the areas that would fail in production much beforehand will give us a great detail of a confidence to the business team as well as the IT team as well. So I would rather put more effort on testing than going into production and finding those issues at the later stage. So I'm pleased with this shift at the moment. Yeah.
Fabulous. It's a good segue to the next question, and that's as follows: sort of last holiday season or peak season, let's just say for each of you, AI agent traffic on retail sites rose sharply. What are you seeing? And Jason, you already mentioned this. What are you seeing on your own properties? And what does it take to treat an agent as a customer rather than a bot to block? That's exactly the point that you made earlier. And Rama, you had thoughts on that specifically that maybe you wanted to continue to share?
So basically, I know like currently the way we are planning to operate is not test the UI or website for customers, but also to factor the bots as well. I must admit that we are not extensively letting these bots crawl into our system yet, because we wanted to know what is the intentions of these bots. So, and it's really hard to distinguish between the intentions of this bot, whether they would like to create some security vulnerabilities, or the intention is to scroll through or crawl through our website, or is it uh, or would they like to do a transaction, as we would as we would expect the customers to. um, I think it's evolving, in my opinion, at least in the area where I am currently. But we are sharply seeing the increase in the traffic from AI agents, and our security team is really vigilant about what to allow and what not to allow. Because end of the day, we wanted to allow the real customers, and also wanted to protect the vulnerabilities that these AI sometimes, agents do bring in sometimes. So um, that's the preparation, or the changes that we are seeing. What we are also doing is that we're also making our website as AI agent or bot friendly as possible. This is being done by our digital marketing team, and factoring that should there be any customer who would like to make some purchases through a bot, then they would like to have these bots crawl into our websites as easily as possible, and provide some suggestions based on the customer's prompt. So there's a lot of good work going on. Are we in a position where we can let go all the bots and do transactions on our website? Not yet. Are we heading in that direction? Yes, we are. Not sure about Sunita. Do you have any call-outs there, or like a view on that?
Yeah, Rama, I've been smiling the entire time you're speaking. Um, both what you and Jason shared, I actually had to quickly look up. Michael Kors is close to a 50-year-old company, 45 years. And Jason, you're at what, 88 years or so. And so when you think about the longevity of your company, the customer following that you have, and the credibility in the industry, when you actually do have an attack, a bot attack, your blast radius is immense. And so, Rama, what you were sharing about, the emerging and evolving in terms of how much we are willing to give, um, I see that on my side too. I can't quite lift the curtain and say, all right, you know what? It's a free for all. Come on in, right? So, um, we need to also think about the systems, the credibility, and where we are in our journeys. Wendy, as we're thinking about these shifts, um, it is very ironic. About 12 months ago, we said, we're going to restrict and have all of these WAFs, captchas, rate limits, etc. And now we're saying, let's open up. If you're a bouncer at the club, you need to now start knowing how to host your guests, right? One thing that I think about, especially in the last holiday season, data and metrics that were shared, it appeared close to 30, 30 to 40% channel conversion actually through bot traffic. And if you're not accounting for it, then you're definitely leaving money on the table. So what's your sweet spot, and how do you balance that from a testing perspective? Is your agent really got a true order? Is it a real card? Are you really allowing for that revenue to come into your organization? um, Testing definitely changes. I think, Jason, you said we're now testing throughout the year, right? It's not for a
Yep.
peak season and for a moment. We've um, shifted left, thinking about quality as a platform and actually running it 365, 24/7, right? So there's a lot of things that you can do in bringing in those testing best practices, whether you have pipelines, whether you're using agents to run autonomously, etc. But testing as much as you can within the pre-prod environment. And when you think about bots and agents, they're not really looking at your store. You kind of want to be able to see that underlying data layer of yours that is actually validated, and your API calls are stable, and so on and so forth. So you're moving away from just what meets the human eye, to actually doing a different type of contract-based testing that can actually prepare you better. So Wendy, I am with Rama and Jason. I'm not a free for all. Let's open the gates at this time. A slowly evolving, emerging, and testing out first before we say, hey, slow, gradual progression with this.
It is in fact quite daunting to think about how do you sift through the good from the bad, and that's it's a non-simple challenge. There was a great article in the New York Times, I think it was last week, about how the internet is rapidly becoming a place where agents speak to other agents, or we could call it bots speak to bots, and general readership type of an article. And you guys really are bringing it home in terms of what does this mean in my type of organization, and what does this mean specifically around how do I do quality engineering, and with this new opportunity and with this new threat, because it's potentially exactly as you said, it's a bit of both. And I love the comment, Sunita, that you made about the longevity of each and every one of the organizations that are here. You are not, some of the brands, for example, within Catalyst, have been around for over 100 years. New Look, I'm not sure how long, because I don't live in the UK, but I think it's quite an old and established brand. And, I think this is real. So as we think about that, I'm going to kind of put a question out to all of you, and raise your hand or your pen, whichever comes first, and I'll just have the first person go, and then you can each jump in. But when an agent can browse, compare, and buy, and I picture, by the way, taking a photograph of a few of the dresses I have and saying, I have these, help me find something else for this occasion, and having my agent look around at a number of stores to find me great choices. So I can absolutely, just as a human being here in this world, think about how this could work well. But when an agent can browse, compare, and buy, what are some of the changes, and how you test the storefront? Or even if you're not quite yet there, how do you picture doing that? And where does trust actually get established? And who would like to go first? I think I see Jason raising something. What was that?
It's a magnifying glass.
I thought so. Wow, it was hard because I could see through it.
Yeah, I was just using AI to tell me how to answer this question about AI. No, seriously. So if you think about traditional testing, okay, so maybe even a few years ago, and maybe some organizations are still testing like this. You typically have a set of test cases that test a particular piece of functionality. You have like your payment tests in a repository. Then you go on to your catalog lookup test. Then you've moved on to another type of test. When you have these bots that can make all these decisions, it's less about ensuring just that piece of functionality works. It's more about that whole decision-making process and being able to predict how that bot is going to interact with your website. So you have to look at it from more of an end-to-end perspective and test with that in mind. And as far as trust, I mean, the way I'll look at it is it's trustworthy when it proves that it can be trusted. And I don't want to define it with that, but we have to set the guardrails around our site and what we will allow things to do and not do, right? When that bot proves that it's accurate, and it isn't going to do something rogue, when it proves that it's going to accomplish the things that it's set out to do, it's transparent, it's consistent, it's going to interact with your site in a consistent way. And then also when it proves that if it does something a little bit strange, that it recovers quickly and it doesn't, again, do something completely out of bounds. I think that that's when that trust gets established and you start looking at it as something that you will put on that allowable list that can interact with your site versus something that is a potential threat. And I'll toss it out to anybody else who wants to jump in.
Yeah, I can take it up. I think I'll just expand the thought what you just shared, Jason, and add some color to that. Definitely the dynamics have changed in terms of what channels and what surfaces we are actually targeting to cater our content to. Now it's more like non-human traffic coming in terms of agents coming in on behalf of a person. They're actually accessing our sites or our APIs or platform, not sites, but the platforms. So technically, you are not testing the storefront alone in this case, right? You are technically testing your platform with APIs, and the security then becomes like layered security, not at one location. So the trust is actually deep into your platform, in my opinion. It's not at one location, so you have to have your data governance, you have to have your knowledge graphs in such a way that whatever the content which is being served to the agent versus a customer accessing the website across multiple various channels, whether it could be a mobile app, whether it could be a storefront, or whether it could be coming through a ChatGPT or a Perplexity LLM. So you have to ensure the data is grounded to your organizational content, and you're able to guardrail those, what Jason was also explaining about. So what are the mechanisms to do that? The platform as a product and making sure the data is federated. It's not like a centralized warehouse data anymore. It's more like every domain has to have the data governance, and they own their data, they own their trust. And we can actually have a data lineage to track back on where the original data has originated from. Is it trustworthy or not? So the lineage is very important in enterprise when you're talking about consistency across various domains. Take an example of, I come to the website or I go to a ChatGPT and ask for a product, and what we serve is a relevant product with right price, right inventory, and right promotion at any given point in time. I should be able to serve this consistently for a customer accessing in ChatGPT, or a customer is coming to my website, or a customer is coming into my .com experience. So all these domains in an enterprise have to be consistently behaving and under the given guardrails of the enterprise. So the data lineage and the canonical models will become very, very important. So it's a platform level trust. It's no more a trust at the edge. It is more trust deep into the platform, in my opinion. So you are actually building the blocks ground up.
Absolutely. I think I'd like to jump in and also kind of mention um, this is a kind of completely new revenue stream, and every business look for the where we can kind of do the kind of generate the more revenues and kind of new way of generating revenue and ideas and things like that. So this is a completely new way. I think we heard about the social commerce. Now this becoming a agentic commerce, which is what the new trend right now going on. And I think, as Krishna mentioned, when we talk about these agents kind of coming from any particular LLM or any particular application or app, kind of scrapping your products and taking that information back to the customer, I think we need to kind of look at it as how we are allowing this agent to consume the information. Now your application and platform not just used by the human, and not only human interacting, but some other systems are interacting with your system, and that's where you wanted to kind of ensure that your system is capable enough to providing the very clear information rather than ambiguity around the information. I think mainly these agents kind of making a decision based on the input from the customer in terms of what they needed, what that price boundary is, what kind of criteria they are putting. And I think that's where all of this decision, when the agent taking the information and going back, we taste kind of is the agent doing the right decision? Is the agent got the right criteria to make a right decision? And definitely echo what Krishna mentioned. The trust do not stop on a one place. I think is multiple points where you need to make sure the things are correct. So start with your product data, your category data, pricing data. If it is a promotion and any flash discount going on, that reflected right on every platform, every commercial channel, rather than just limited or one place. Of course, APIs, microservices is one of the key part here, which is kind of constantly throwing and getting the data from the one end to another, and you wanted to kind of ensure those services being tested correctly. We have a extensive contract testing in a place where we ensuring that all the consumer and provider tests are thoroughly validated, and even though backdated or backdated version is also controlled and establish the trust between them. And of course, the principle here is the kind of if we are going to give the agent the ability to buy something for the customer, we need to be able to explain and give the enough confidence and evidence says the agent is making right decision based on input from customer and is taking the response back to the end users.
Fantastic. I think everybody had a chance to answer that, and I really appreciate your answers. I'm also seeing that our clock is ticking a bit, and I do see a lot of questions in the Q&A. So I'm going to skip a couple of the pre-planned questions and go down to one that I feel represents the mission of quality always, and that is, how do you catch, do I want this one? I would say maybe I'm going to do this one, which is, how has your approach to test design and acceptance criteria evolved when there is no single correct output to assert against? And I think that is not just in the world of agents, but that's also in just the world of quality in general. There's always a certain amount of non-determinism. Nipan, do you want to go first with that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I earlier mentioned, this is a great question, and I think is a great pain, but at the same time is kind of give you the great opportunity to kind of evolve in agentic commerce era. One of the biggest change AI brings to the quality is, traditionally what we have a given when then criteria. When given the certain input, you expect a certain output. But I think in this the AI era, and especially when the AI agent kind of putting the brain into the work is there are several valid answers. And I think we have to kind of change that mindset and look at the question saying says it's not the given when and then, but it's what kind of criteria boundary we need to draw, says where the question against the given and when the answer is what is this producing is correct. I'll give you an example where something we recently introduced and we currently working on is our search engine, where a number of customers kind of try and look for the say, help me find the summer dress or similar sort of things. And then also they kind of put the criteria where it says I needed the dress under the certain amount. Now that could be a potential says output could be A, B, C, or 10 different kind of things might come back. However, depends. This answer has to be a kind of validated against the kind of number of factors. So something like the AI response has to be, and this is what the boundary I was talking about, saying say AI only need to be respond with the certain items when it is in a stock. There's no point AI respond back says, yeah, this is a dress available, but then it is not in the stock. So those kind of guardrail we wanted to put on. Also the customer, and I normally do, and probably most of the customer does this practice as well, says I have this is a budget, can you bring me something out of this between this range? And I think that's a really great way of funneling down the product closer to your expectation. But then that posed the challenge to us in terms of a product has a X price, but then considering our promotion, considering our flash discount, it might be the product cost maybe not the real price, but actually might be with the promotion price could be lower, and therefore it should be included into that response or expected output. So these kind of things are kind of coming into the practice, and this is where my team is kind of have to be a little more mindful of says what are the kind of criteria we validating against rather than traditional acceptance criteria.
Interesting. Krishna, you had thoughts on that as well when we prepped.
Yeah. So there are multiple things to look into when you talk about how do we pivot into the new world and how our test design and the test approach should be looking at. I'll give you a practical example. I don't want to talk more in terms of the methodology maybe, but the ways we need to start thinking about. Take an example of search engine optimizations. Now we're moving into the era of answer engine optimization, AEO. Formerly, we used to test the content, which is more specific to how a human or a bot used to come onto the site and crawl the site by clicking the links and navigating through the site to discover the content and surface us in the ranking. In the new world, you're actually thinking about more answerable content, not like clickable content. So the narrative is changing, right? So you have to understand how you're testing your content for a given intent. So you're not truly being deterministic in terms of getting a binary answer, but you're actually catering it to multiple surfaces on how my content is trusted, and is my content going to be surfaced by a ChatGPT or a Perplexity. At the same time, is my content going to be surfaced by a Google on its ranking model? So how do you do that? You have to have structured data. Then coming to the platform capabilities, like what is your data model and how do you generate those along with your knowledge graph so that your content is grounded to your enterprise governing model or governing policies that you have put in the guardrails. So you have to validate those very upfront in terms of your testing strategy and come up with a right strategy to say like my content is now catering various different surfaces, but at the same time whichever surface receives my content is grounded on my own enterprise data and governing guardrails that I've put in together. So your canonical structures, your data consistency across, as part of my previous answer what I was trying to explain you is all tied together if you really look at it. So you cannot really have one size fits everything. You have to make sure you are catering your content which is resonating to the new surfaces that are going to come and discover your product or your content on this on your platform should be easily understandable and trustable by those channels. So for you to make those trust, you have to have your own guardrails and make sure the content is within your boundaries. You're not, for example, if you go to an agentic shopping assistant world, the conversational search that is very much evolving. If you have observed what do you call the Chipotle's use case, what happened in the US, like they have opened up a conversational chat on Chipotle, and people have started writing Python scripts using their public chat on the website. It's like a huge news in the paper, right? So we have to have certain guardrails in terms of what is allowed and what is not allowed, and when we are surfacing the content, how trustworthy is the content. So those are the things I think the validation of the data upfront is very important in terms of what we are trying to test, not just a binary answer of is the output right or is the output wrong. And also the hallucination on when the data is drifting over a period of time, like how your output is really consistent. So those are the things you'll evolve in the new world in terms of your test strategy and test design going forward.
Wendy, if I may jump in.
Please.
So I loved what Krishna was saying, and his focus on, hey, it's not a binary response anymore, right? Like you ask the question twice and you get two different responses. And I think earlier in the conversation, Jason had said, and talking about another question, I think the importance of customer journeys. And so when I'm thinking this through, right, it is definitely evolving. I can tell you I don't have a golden solution to this just yet, but there's a set of validation for your golden set of customer journeys that are deterministic, in the sense you have business rules and business engines, and there is if this, then that, else, right? I think that still stays. And the non-deterministic part, and if we're going to use agentic AI for testing, I would imagine, that's where you do have to pair both and take a hybrid approach to your test strategy. And I think you brought up hallucination, Krishna. At this point in time, the only way I can confirm something is hallucinating is if I have a human in the loop. And so my most valuable asset in an organization is a subject matter expert, someone who actually knows front to back, has been boots on the ground for a long period of time before AI became a thing. And I like saying it's not cash is king anymore, but context is king, right? You really need to understand your context behind everything that you're doing to ensure your test strategy actually holds water, whichever methodology you want to use and approach or platform you want to consider using. So, I think it's a very interesting era for sure. I can't wait to see how this evolves. Yeah.
Perfect stopping point for our last question. And to all those who were so thoughtful and wrote great questions in the Q&A, I am so sorry that we will not have any time, because this last question hopefully will get to a lot of what you're all wondering, and maybe not all of it. So hopefully we can get to some of these in the after moments. But I'm going to ask this last question, and I'll just go around Brady Bunch style. So with you, Nipam, going first. A retail leader, there are retail leaders in this audience. I was scrolling through some of the folks attending, and the list is very long. But for those folks who are hands-on retail leaders, and they're deciding to start with agentic commerce, what is the one shift you would tell them to make first? Just, you're starting now. You don't have a brand that's 100 years old, or maybe you're new in your role and you do. So that's two different questions, but let's just package it in one way that makes most sense to you, given what you know. What would you tell them to do first with agentic commerce, Nipam?
I think I would suggest, as I mentioned, social commerce to agentic commerce is a new trend, and if we need to compete in this era, we need to changing the mindset from testing the journey to testing the decision the agent is allowing to make. That is a kind of big shift we need to look into. Of course, that can be achieved by putting the number of guardrails, the how you kind of train your model, the how test data you're using into the criteria of your validation, number of other way you can validate those things. But that's a kind of where I would start first step.
Thank you. And by the way, thank you for sticking to the 1 minute, because I think each of you gets about 45 seconds, 1 minute, 45 seconds. Over to you, Krishna.
Yeah. In my view, I would say you have to have your data strategy knocked out first, because your AI is only going to be as good as your data. At the same time, you have to have a strategy of how do you surface your content for AEOs, for product discovery, so that the data is consistent, trusted. Then you have to have the product discovery mechanism so that all the surfaces can get that. Then comes in your catalog feeds to all these channels. You need to be making sure that is federated and very canonicalized so that everybody can understand the same language. And then third one is getting into the agentic commerce, like having the agentic checkout or whatever, the agentic shopping assistants, where you can really truly have a conversational nature once you have the content being surfaced in the right way. So I would say it is like a journey, and focus on your structure, focus on canonical structures and data models and the data governance, which is table stakes at this point.
Rama.
Sure, I think Krishna has covered pretty much all the good points that I would like to. But one thing I would like to make one shift in particular is our security team in particular. They are really keen to make sure that they would make an informed decision what to allow, what not to allow from these bots crawling into our site. It's just that I would like to equip with them, saying that no matter what it is, we are going to expect more of bot traffic into our websites. It's more about equipping our team with the tools to make that judgment as such, and make our website as bot friendly as possible for transactional purposes.
Thank you. Jason.
Yeah, I'd answer it just slightly from a different perspective and just say, keep it simple, right? If you're going to build a bot that does one thing, that does one piece of one thing. For example, if you're going to build a bot that does returns, don't build a bot that handles every type of potential return there is in every type of scenario. Build a bot that handles the simple stuff and perfect that, and then expand from there. Don't try to boil the ocean.
Yeah, Wendy, I would agree with everything that I heard. I would ask that we not start with the technology, but actually start with the people, right? Especially in some of these organizations that have been around for a long time. You have 3 or 4 different generations at work right now. Be empathetic to the change. Understand that just giving tool access is not enough, right? Have a playbook, and actually a smart playbook, one that you can actually measure, whether that's going to be access to the platform, adoption rate, productivity gain, whatever are your metrics, have them. But when you actually do have that roadmap, and then you find one solid journey that you actually want to test end to end. And you use that confidence and conversion both in the same place to build trust both internally within your organization, your teams as well. So for me, people first in this entire journey.
Thank you. Perfect way to close us out. And I really, really want to thank every single one of you, Sunita, Nipam, Jason, Rama, Krishna. Thank you all so much for taking the time out to share your expertise, your points of view. And I truly enjoyed this conversation. Let us, audience members, sorry we didn't get to your questions, but we will ask you a favor. Definitely post on social media about your thoughts on TestMu conference as we close in on the end of our third day, for third and final, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Folks, thank you all so much. It's truly, like I said, been a joy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was great meeting everyone. Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.